The Forgotten Protocol. The morning sun rose over New Geneva, casting golden light across the crystalline towers that stretched toward the sky. Commander Rachel Torres stood at the observation deck of the Orbital Defense Network headquarters, her coffee growing cold in her hand as she watched the city come alive below. It was a scene of perfect peace, the kind that humanity had enjoyed for 4,000 years. Children played in parks powered by fusion reactors, while transport pods glided silently between buildings. War was something people read about in history books, a relic of a darker age that seemed impossibly distant. Rachel had served in the defense network for 15 years, and in all that time she had never faced a real threat. Her job consisted mostly of monitoring space debris, coordinating satellite maintenance, and filing reports that nobody read. Some days she wondered if her position even mattered anymore. Earth had colonies on dozens of worlds, trade agreements with peaceful alien species, and technology that had eliminated most forms of conflict. The galaxy seemed content to leave humanity alone, and humanity was happy to return the favor. That peaceful morning shattered at exactly 9:43. The alert system screamed to life with a sound Rachel had only heard during drills. Red lights flooded the command center as she sprinted from the observation deck, her coffee cup clattering to the floor behind her. Officers scrambled to their stations, their faces reflecting the same confusion and disbelief that gripped Rachel's chest. The main display lit up with data that made no sense, numbers that shouldn't exist outside of theoretical models. "Report," Rachel barked, sliding into her command chair. Lieutenant Sarah Chen's hands flew across her console, her voice tight with controlled panic. "Commander, we have multiple contacts entering the solar system. Correction, massive contacts. The computer is showing at least 300 vessels, each one larger than our biggest colony ship." She looked up, her face pale. They just appeared at the edge of detection range. No warning, no communication, nothing. Rachel felt her blood turn cold. 300 ships. The entire human fleet across all colonies numbered maybe 50 capital vessels. She leaned forward, studying the display as it updated with more information. The contacts were moving in perfect formation, their approach vector aimed directly at Earth like an arrow toward a target. "Identification?" she demanded. "Unknown, Commander," replied Dr. James Chin from the analysis station. The elderly scientist had been with the defense network longer than anyone, his gray hair and weathered face testament to decades of service. "Their design doesn't match any known species in our database. The hull configuration is completely alien, and their energy signatures are off the charts. These aren't explorers or traders. These are warships." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Warships. Rachel had studied ancient military history, had read about the wars that nearly destroyed humanity before the Great Peace, but the concept of an actual military threat seemed unreal. Earth hadn't faced war in 4 millennia. Their defenses were minimal, designed more for show than substance. A few patrol ships, some outdated missile platforms, and a network of sensors that nobody really believed would ever detect an enemy. "Get me the Global Security Council," Rachel ordered, her mind racing through protocols that suddenly seemed pathetically inadequate. "And activate all available defense units. Everything we have." The next 30 minutes descended into chaos. World leaders appeared on screens, their faces shifting from confusion to fear as the reality of the situation became clear. The alien fleet continued its approach, ignoring all attempts at communication. They maintained their perfect formation, silent and ominous, like a storm rolling across the ocean toward an unsuspecting shore. Defense Minister Kwame Osei's voice boomed through the speakers, his usual calm demeanor cracking. "Commander Torres, what are our options? Can we mount a defense?" Rachel glanced at the tactical display, her stomach sinking. Their patrol ships were scattered across the system. Their weapons were designed for asteroid mining, not combat. Against 300 advanced warships, Earth's defenses would last minutes at best. She opened her mouth to deliver the crushing truth when Dr. Chen suddenly stood up from his station. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," he said, his fingers dancing across his console. "There's an automated response triggering in our system. Something I've never seen before. It's pulling data from the deep archives, files that are encrypted with codes I don't recognize." Rachel moved to his station, watching as lines of ancient code scrolled across the screen. The encryption was sophisticated, far beyond anything that should exist in files thousands of years old. "What is it?" "I don't know," Chin admitted, his eyes widening as more data appeared. "But it's activating on its own, responding to the presence of the alien fleet. Wait, there's a file here. It's labeled Protocol Sentinel. Protocol Sentinel. Rachel had never heard of it. She had studied every defense protocol in the network's database, had memorized contingency plans for scenarios ranging from natural disasters to theoretical alien contact. But this was something else, something hidden so deep that it had been forgotten. "Open it," she commanded. Chen's fingers hesitated over the keyboard. "Commander, this encryption is military grade. If I break it incorrectly, we might lose the data entirely." "We don't have time for caution, Doctor." "Open it." The encryption cracked with surprising ease, as if it had been waiting for this exact moment. The screen filled with text, and as Rachel read the first lines, her breath caught in her throat. The file was dated 4,000 years ago, created in the final days of the Great Peace, when humanity had just emerged from centuries of warfare and nearly destroyed themselves with nuclear fire. The document began with a simple statement that changed everything. "To our descendants who read this in a time of need, know that we have not forgotten the lessons of war. We have prepared for the day when peace ends." Rachel's hands trembled as she scrolled through the document. It outlined a defense system so vast and complex that she could barely comprehend its scope. The architects of the Great Peace, the leaders who had brought humanity together and launched them into a new era, had not been naive. They had understood that peace was precious but potentially temporary. And so they had built something extraordinary, hidden in plain sight for 4,000 years. Every major structure on Earth, every satellite, every piece of infrastructure that humanity had built in the Age of Peace, had been designed with a secret dual purpose. The space elevators that carried cargo to orbit were also massive railgun platforms, capable of accelerating projectiles to a fraction of light speed. The communication satellites that connected the world contained weapon arrays powerful enough to carve through starship armor. The civilian fusion reactors that powered cities could be redirected to energy shields that would make Earth's atmosphere itself a barrier against attack. "This can't be real," Lieutenant Chen whispered, reading over Rachel's shoulder. "This would require coordination across centuries, resources beyond imagination. How could they keep something like this secret?" "Because they had to," Rachel replied, her voice filled with awe. "They knew that if humanity believed they were defenseless, they would become defenseless. But if every generation built upon the work of the last, always preparing, always watching, then when the threat finally came, we would be ready." The protocol continued with detailed activation sequences, command codes that linked directly to Rachel's position as commander of the Orbital Defense Network. The system had been designed to activate automatically in the presence of a hostile force, but it required human authorization to fully engage. 4,000 years of preparation waiting for this single moment. Admiral Osei's voice cut through her thoughts. "Commander Torres, the alien fleet has sent a transmission. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Rachel looked at the tactical display, watching the enemy ships advance with arrogant confidence. They had no idea what they were facing. They saw a peaceful world, unprepared and vulnerable, ripe for conquest. They couldn't know that humanity's ancestors had looked to the stars 4 millennia ago and asked themselves a crucial question. What if peace doesn't last? "Commander?" Osei pressed. "How do we respond?" Rachel's fingers moved to the authorization console, entering the ancient command codes that Protocol Sentinel had provided. Across the planet, hidden systems began to wake from their long sleep. She could see it on her screens, energy signatures blooming like flowers after rain, defense grids coming online in perfect synchronization, weapons that had waited patiently for 4,000 years finally revealing their purpose. The Sentinel awakens. The alien fleet commander, whose name translated roughly to Zareth in human language, stood on the bridge of his flagship watching Earth grow larger in the viewscreen. He felt the familiar satisfaction that came with every conquest, the moment when a target world realized its fate was sealed. His species, the Krell Dominion, had subjugated 47 worlds in the past millennium. Earth would be number 48, a primitive backwater that had grown soft during its long peace. "Supreme Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the humans have responded to our ultimatum. They refuse to surrender." Zaretha's mandibles clicked in what passed for Krell amusement. "Predictable. They always refuse at first. Prepare the vanguard to demonstrate our power. Target their largest city and reduce it to ash. That should convince them." But even as he gave the order, warning alarms began shrieking across the bridge. His officer's face plates shifted to a color indicating confusion and alarm. "Commander, we're detecting massive energy spikes across the planet's surface. Hundreds of them. No, thousands. The readings are climbing exponentially." Zareth moved to the tactical display, his confidence wavering for the first time. The peaceful blue world before him was lighting up like a star-going supernova, energy signatures blooming across every continent, every ocean, even in orbit around the planet. It was impossible. Their intelligence had shown Earth as minimally defended, their military presence almost ceremonial. This level of power output suggested a war machine that had been active for centuries. "What are we looking at?" he demanded. "Unknown, Supreme Commander. The energy patterns don't match any known defensive system. They're everywhere. In their cities, their orbital structures, even their civilian satellites. It's as if their entire civilization is one massive weapon." On Earth, Commander Rachel Torres watched the transformation unfold with a mixture of pride and disbelief. The Protocol Sentinel interface showed her every system coming online, each one marked with timestamps from 4,000 years ago. The architects of the Great Peace had been extraordinarily thorough, embedding defensive capabilities into every aspect of human civilization. Dr. James Chin stood beside her, his eyes wide as data flooded his screens. "Commander, this is incredible. The space elevators are reconfiguring their internal structure. The magnetic acceleration systems that normally carry cargo are rotating into firing positions. Each elevator is essentially a fixed orbital gun platform capable of firing projectiles at 0.03 light speed." Lieutenant Sarah Chun called out from the communication station. "Commander, we're receiving automated reports from all sectors. Civilian fusion reactors are redirecting power to atmospheric shield generators. The network is creating overlapping defensive barriers across the entire planet. The energy output is beyond anything in our current technology." Rachel pulled up the tactical overview, watching as Earth transformed before her eyes. The communication satellites humanity had launched over centuries were deploying weapon arrays, their innocuous solar panels splitting open to reveal particle beam emitters. Undersea installations that everyone believed were scientific research stations were rising from the ocean depths, massive railgun turrets breaking the surface like ancient sea monsters awakening from slumber. Admiral Kwame Osei appeared on the main screen, his expression shifting from shock to fierce determination. "Commander Torres, I'm seeing reports from military installations worldwide. Equipment we thought was decommissioned decades ago is activating. No, not activating. Revealing itself. We have defense platforms hidden inside mountains, weapon batteries disguised as power stations, and enough firepower to fight a war that should be impossible." "It was never decommissioned, Admiral," Rachel replied, her voice filled with wonder. "It was waiting. Our ancestors built all of this during the Great Peace, embedding it into every structure we created. They knew that someday someone would come to test us. They made sure we'd be ready." Defense Minister Osei joined the channel, his face stern. "The Global Security Council authorizes full defensive action, Commander. Show these invaders what humanity is capable of." Rachel's fingers moved across her console, selecting targets and coordinating the defense network with precision that surprised even her. The Protocol Sentinel interface was intuitive, designed by people who understood that their descendants might never have trained for actual combat. It guided her through the tactical decisions, offering strategies that had been planned millennia ago by military minds who had lived through real warfare. "All stations, this is Commander Torres," she announced, her voice carrying across every defense network frequency on Earth and throughout human space. "Protocol Sentinel is fully active. Weapons free. Target the alien fleet and show them why humanity has survived for 4,000 years." The first strike came from the space elevators. 8 massive structures spanning the globe simultaneously fired, their magnetic acceleration systems launching tungsten projectiles at velocities that turned simple metal into devastating kinetic weapons. The projectiles crossed the distance to the alien vanguard in seconds, moving too fast for conventional shields to deflect. Zareth watched in horror as 3 of his vanguard ships simply ceased to exist, their shields penetrated like paper, their hulls vaporized by the kinetic energy transfer. "Evasive maneuvers," he roared. "Return fire. Destroy those platforms." But the space elevators were just the beginning. The satellite network opened fire next, thousands of particle beams lancing through space in coordinated patterns. The Krell fleet's shields, designed to withstand conventional weapons, found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer volume of fire. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds suddenly found their defenses failing, their armor burning away under sustained bombardment. Dr. Chin monitored the battle from his station, his scientific mind struggling to process what he was witnessing. "Commander, the targeting algorithms are phenomenal. The system is predicting enemy movements before they happen, coordinating fire from multiple platforms to hit the same target simultaneously. Whoever designed this understood warfare at a level we've forgotten." "They lived through it, Doctor," Rachel replied grimly. They fought wars that nearly destroyed our species. They knew exactly what we would face. The alien fleet tried to adapt, their commanders scrambling to respond to an enemy that shouldn't exist. They launched fighters, small craft designed to penetrate planetary defenses, but Earth's atmosphere itself had become a weapon. The shield generators activated by Protocol Sentinel created an energy barrier that turned the upper atmosphere into a killing field, burning through fighter hulls before they could reach engagement range. Zareth felt control of the situation slipping through his claws. Focus fire on their cities. If we can't break their defenses, we'll destroy what they're protecting. The Krell fleet unleashed their planet-killer weapons, massive energy beams designed to crack continents and boil oceans. But the beams never reached Earth's surface. The atmospheric shields absorbed the energy, dispersing it across global networks that had been designed specifically for this purpose. Underground facilities that had masqueraded as geological research stations for centuries revealed their true purpose, redirecting absorbed energy back into the grid, turning the enemy's own weapons into power sources for Earth's defense. Lieutenant Chen's voice rose with excitement. "Commander, the system is adapting in real time. It's analyzing their weapon signatures and modulating our shields to maximum efficiency. The more they shoot at us, the stronger our defenses become." Rachel allowed herself a tight smile. The architects of Protocol Sentinel had thought of everything. They had designed a system that learned, that adapted, that turned aggression back against the aggressor. It was the ultimate defensive strategy, born from minds that had seen warfare at its worst and were determined that humanity would never be vulnerable again. The battle raged for 2 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Krell fleet, which had conquered 47 worlds with overwhelming force, found themselves outmatched by a civilization they had dismissed as peaceful and weak. Ship after ship fell to Earth's coordinated defense, their superior technology meaningless against weapons that had been refined and improved by 4,000 years of secret development. Admiral Osei coordinated the human counteroffensive, his military training combining with the ancient protocols to devastating effect. "Target their command ship," he ordered. "Let's cut off the head of this snake." Zareth watched his fleet disintegrate around him, unable to comprehend how the battle had turned so completely. His flagship shuddered under sustained fire from multiple platforms, shields failing, systems overloading. Pride had brought him here, the arrogant certainty that humanity was just another primitive species waiting to be conquered. Now that pride was costing him everything. "Supreme Commander, we must retreat," his tactical officer pleaded. "We've lost over 200 ships. The fleet is breaking apart." For a moment, Zareth considered fighting to the end, his warrior's pride demanding he go down with his ship. But survival instincts overrode honor. He had to warn the Dominion, had to tell them that Earth was not what it appeared to be. "Open a channel to the humans," he commanded, his voice heavy with defeat. Rachel received the incoming transmission, seeing the alien commander's face for the first time. She could read the shock and fear in his alien features, the disbelief of a predator who had suddenly become prey. "Humans," Zareth began, struggling with their language, "we were wrong about you. We came seeking an easy conquest. We found something else entirely. We surrender. We request terms." Rachel glanced at Admiral Osei and Defense Minister Kwame Osei on her screens. They nodded, leaving the decision to her. She looked back at the alien commander, thinking of the 4,000 years of preparation that had led to this moment, the countless generations who had built defenses they hoped would never be needed. "You came to our world expecting to find victims," Rachel said, her voice cold and clear. "You found guardians instead. Humanity has been watching the stars since we achieved peace, waiting for the day someone would test us. You are the first, but you won't be the last. Return to your people. Tell them what you found here. Tell them that Earth is not defenseless. It never was. We simply chose peace while remaining ready for war." She paused, letting her words sink in. "You have 1 hour to leave our system. Take your surviving ships and go. If you ever return with hostile intent, we will not be so merciful. Humanity remembers how to fight. We simply choose not to unless forced. Don't force us again." The transmission ended. Across the command center, officers watched as the Krell fleet broke formation and fled, their massive warships limping away from Earth like wounded animals. The planet that had seemed so vulnerable had proven to be the most dangerous target they had ever encountered. Dr. Chin approached Rachel, his face thoughtful. "Commander, Protocol Sentinel is powering down the offensive systems but keeping defensive grids active. It's returning to standby mode, ready to activate again if needed." Rachel nodded, watching the alien fleet disappear from their sensors. Around Earth, the space elevators were returning to their civilian configurations, satellites folding away their weapons, shield generators dimming as the planet's atmosphere returned to normal. In hours, Earth would look peaceful again, just another quiet world among billions. But now everyone knew the truth. Humanity's peace had never been weakness. It had been wisdom, the understanding that the best weapon is the one you never have to use. For 4,000 years, humanity had prepared in secret, building a defense that would make attacking Earth too costly to contemplate. Admiral Osei's voice came through, filled with respect. "Well done, Commander. Our ancestors would be proud." Rachel looked out at the stars, thinking of the people who had built Protocol Sentinel so long ago, who had trusted that their descendants would use it wisely. They had given humanity a gift, not just of weapons and shields, but of security. The freedom to pursue peace knowing that they could defend it if necessary. "Send a message to all human colonies," she ordered. "Let them know what happened here today. Let them know that Earth stands ready not just for us but for all of humanity. And activate the long-range sensors. If the Krell could find us, others will too. Protocol Sentinel may sleep, but it will always be watching." As the sun set over New Geneva, the city returned to its peaceful rhythm. Children continued playing in parks, unaware of how close they had come to disaster. Transport pods glided between crystalline towers. Life went on, protected by guardians who had waited 4 millennia for their moment. Humanity had been tested, and humanity had prevailed. Not through aggression or conquest, but through preparation and wisdom. The galaxy would learn a new lesson about Earth, one that would echo across the stars for generations to come. Peace does not mean weakness, and humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The Sentinel had awakened, and it would never truly sleep again.